Part of the program invited one of the team members to give a testimony about relationship with Christ. And in order for me to do that, I need to be completely transparent with you guys. And so I'm going to tell you a few things about me before I kick this off. I was born and raised Catholic, cradle Catholic. Came from a loving family. Never had any kind of a tragic, dramatic event in my life that caused me to just cast the Lord aside. I generally believed in the Lord, wanted to be near the Lord, and depended on Him. So I don't have a story that will illustrate some sort of schism between me and God. I don't have that kind of story. But what I do have is a story about some areas in my life that I needed to improve, and the way that I received a gift and the way that I improved was a complete surprise. And so I hope that by the telling of the story and by the hearing of it, you'll be able to understand my journey a little bit, and perhaps pieces of the story will ring true and resonate in experiences that you've had in your lives. So again, Mom and Dad were always married, never divorced, an Irish Catholic family. I was born on December 25th, 1962, Christmas Day, right? Tuesday afternoon. No, I'm not Jesus, it's just a coincidence. Just a coincidence. 3 years later, we have a sister who's born on Christmas Eve. So we're Irish, and so for at least 2 St. Patrick's there, Mom and Dad had a lot of fun. 9 months later, boom, there we are, right? Thanks, Mom, thanks, Dad. The third child was born in August and the last one in March, so they got, St. Patrick's Day lost its sense of fun, I guess. But we were always close. We were always humor-filled. It was a loving family. But I had issues in my life with patience and with myself. Self was always way up here, above everything. And patience was about that much, if any, very little patience. And that often manifested itself with the people that I loved the most. Very short, come on, let's get to the point, let's go, we're late, come on, let's go. It's all about me, I want the answer now. And my career and my life was about, what can I get? What can I get from this? It was that. And so, now at the time, back then, I can't really tell you that I knew that those were faults. That was just the way that I was, and that's how I approached life. And it wasn't until several years later that I began to understand that that was not perhaps a good way to live life. So I was given this unexpected gift. On September 16th in 2002, my son Michael came into the world. Now I have 2 sons, and they're both incredibly important to me. Grant is 21 and a senior at K-State. And Michael, 13 years old, a 7th grader at Chisholm Trail in the confirmation program here at Prince of Peace. And we had all the usual tests. Life was progressing fine. Everything was going to be normal and good. The word normal was thrown around quite a bit. And I'll talk about normal in a minute, but that's the word that everybody used. And it wasn't until Michael arrived, he was kind of rushed out. Usually they give the new baby to the mom, right? So that she can hold him. The dad gets to cut the cord, things like that are normal. Again, normal. But he's whisked off and taken away, and I kind of go, what the heck? What's going on? What in the world? Now, I got to tell you, and most of you know, in the throngs of a delivery, you don't really have time to analyze. You just kind of go with it. So I went with it and just kind of waited, and the doctor came back and gave us news. And what he said was, your son appears to have signs and symptoms of Down syndrome. And so, bam! A million thoughts, maybe not a million, maybe 1,000, maybe 100, went through my mind. Can I handle this? The self, me, all about me. Can I handle this? Is he going to live? Is he going to die? What does this mean? Can I handle this? Will he have friends? Will he have a meaningful life? Can I handle this? Is he going to be able to play sports? Is he going to be, and I shudder to think that I thought this, Is he going to be retarded? Now, the R word, I must tell you, was on the level of the N word in my life. We don't use the R word. But that's what I thought, if I'm totally transparent. Is he going to be able to go to school? Is he going to be sequestered off from other kids? Can I handle this? Is he going to go to high school, college? Is he going to fall in love? Can I handle this? Self. And no patience, because I wanted to know what the heck this meant. So he's whisked off to the NICU, the NICU, Neonatal Intensive Care Unit, right? The good people at Overland Park Regional took good care of him. Had a little issue with his lungs. They were a little underdeveloped. He could breathe, but he had to be on oxygen. And then they told me he's got 2 holes in his heart. What does that mean? Can I handle this? Can I handle this? Is he going to be okay? Is he going to live? So I had lots of learning to do. Lots of learning. The social service people at the hospital were incredibly helpful. I did my own research. I needed to learn, and through the grace of God and people, now at the time, I didn't realize that God was entering my life through social workers and through nurses and through doctors. But through the gift of hindsight, I can tell you today that he was, most definitely. And so the social worker introduced us to a couple of people and an organization. The Down Syndrome Guild of Kansas City came in and brought a couple of people with them that had children, little toddlers that had Downs. The most beautiful, amazing, perfect kids that you'd ever want to see. But still, in the moment of the whole episode, this is just a day or 2 after Michael's born. Whew, I'm still going, I mean, it looks great and it looks good, but still, can I handle this, self? Can I handle this? I want to know now. I want to know now. So blessings began to dawn upon me. Here's a picture of one of the first times I got to feed Michael. You might notice, if you can tell, I'm holding a little tube. He had a tube that went through his nose down into his tummy. We weren't allowed to pick him up or hold him for about 2.5 weeks. And so this is the contact that I had with Michael for the first few weeks of his life. Small little guy, perfect, but perceptions began to change for me. And it began as a perception of seeing all as a gift. This was through no effort of my own. This was because of the people that were around me at the time and in my life. They allowed me to see that. And I began to see that we should, and again, through hindsight, change perspectives from what I can get, me, what can I get from this, to what can I offer. And that's what people began to teach me, and I learned. So people, God, His Holy Spirit became intertwined. Now at the time, again, didn't quite realize that, but I'm telling you now from the gift of hindsight, that's what was going on. People were very nice, and they said lots of nice things. For example, you should be happy. God only gives babies like this to people that can really take care of them. Now, they meant well, but I really, to this day, I'm not sure I can quite wrap my head around that. I used to be a teacher, and in my training, I saw lots of babies and kids who were terribly abused, did something wrong and they took a hot iron to their back, beatings and things like that. So where's God in that, right? I dig it that you think I'm a good guy and that God gives Michael to me because you think I can take care of him, but words to me mean something, right? So I have to wrap my head around God plucking me out of the world and giving me Michael, while he plucks other people out of the world and gives other babies terrible parents. So I'm not even sure today I can wrap my head around that, other than to say we have to see all as gift. And then people would say, well, everything happens for a reason. And I had to wrestle with that one. Because in my corporate life, where self is important, I negotiated labor contracts for corporations trying to keep unions under control, right? We would negotiate lengthy contracts, and every word and every paragraph had to mean something. So when somebody says to me, everything happens for a reason, everything is an absolute. And for me, absolutes raise red flags. Everything? She always does that. Really, does she always do it, or just sometimes? He always behaves like that. Really? Always? So I think things happen. I think there's this world that exists, that's created and given by God, and everything given by God, I believe personally, is perfect. The world is perfect. The mountains are perfect. The oceans, perfect. The life in the mountains, in the forest, in the ocean, it's all perfect. So there's a choreography that goes on. We're perfect. We are. I truly, in my heart, believe that. A newborn baby is perfect. Nobody can deny that. But there's also things in the world called biology and accidents and cancer, tornadoes, earthquakes. So if everything happens for a reason, perhaps I can wrap my head around it in this way, that when those accidents happen in a perfect world, perhaps our response is what matters. Not the act itself necessarily, but our response. Seeing the things that happen as a gift. Perhaps that's how I began to think back then that I could wrap my head around it, right? So I began to change, and the dawning of blessing began to appear in my life. Maybe this is it. Maybe it's not so much God chose Doug to have a baby with Downs, but maybe it's how Doug responds to that incident in life that God wants to see a response from me. Maybe that's it. Okay, I could wrap my head around that a little bit better. And so I thought the world was perfect, and that we're perfect, and that things that we see, this natural choreography, is part of it, that God gives it to us, right? We're all perfect. And it dawned on me in a real way when I thought about adversity and challenge and so forth, that you know what? And listen, like I said, in my former life, words are really important. So I'm going to tell you some words right now. See if you agree. In the world, there is no such thing as pain. There's no such thing as stress. There's no such thing as adversity. It's only here because of how we think that those things exist. The world, as we just talked about, or as I just talked about, is perfect as it is. God, evidence of the obvious is sufficient. How do you know the world is perfect? Because it is. Look, the mountains, the ocean, the life within, it's all perfect. Things that come from God are perfect. Look at it another way. Adversity, challenge, well, she hurt my feelings. Or he always acts like that. I wish it could be the way it used to be. She hurt my feelings. How is it even possible for someone to hurt your feelings, right? No one can hurt your feelings unless you give them your consent, because feelings come from your thoughts. So all of this began to dawn on me. Nobody can embarrass me unless I give them my permission to embarrass me. No traumatic event or perceived traumatic event, a birth of a son with Down syndrome perceived as tragic at the beginning, can't derail me unless I give it permission to. So that's the dawn of blessing that kind of overcame me in those days. And it led me to look at this whole thing in a different light. So Michael met a lot of interesting people, one of which was the Duchess of York, Fergie. Fergie did not come to visit Michael specifically. We were, I wish, yes, right? Thank you very much indeed. Yes, Mr. Billings, thank you. Where is Sir Michael? Lord Michael, I knight you in the name of King St. George and God St. Michael. She was in town back in that time and period. Remember, she was in Weight Watchers and all that. She came. There was another baby in the NICU with Michael, and she came to visit that baby's mother. But she saw Michael, and she saw us. We were right next door in the same room, but in the next bed. And she asked personally, can I meet that family? Because she heard that Michael had Downs. So Sarah, the Duchess of York, not knowing us from Adam, now I'm dressed in a suit because I just came from work. It's not because I'm meeting the Duchess, although it's a nice coincidence. Thank you very much, Lord. At least I wasn't dressed, you know, like Fred here in front, right? That's what you get for having the front row, heckler. I want to meet Michael, she said. And Sarah was the most beautiful woman. I mean, she had striking eyes, engaged in conversation, her eyes never left mine. Your son is going to do everything that every typical kid does. And don't let them tell you about normal, because normal doesn't exist. It's not a word we use. There is no such thing as normal, she said in her very eloquent English accent. There's only typical. He's going to be able to do everything that every kid does. Play baseball, play sports, go to school. What do you like to do? I like to scuba dive. My older son, he'll go scuba diving. He'll do it. She said, I just took a group of kids to the Himalayan mountains last summer. They had Downs. They made it up, they made it down. They'll do it. And you're called to tell people about that, Doug, is what she said. So powerful example of how God enters your life through people randomly. And I've said, and I wrote a book about this and other things, and I wrote in the book, you know, my definition of the meaning of life, there's lots of definitions. Poets, priests, philosophers, composers throughout the centuries have tried to define what's the meaning of life, and we're talking about it through this series, right, the Discovering Christ series. My little blurb about it is that I think, as Sarah alluded to, we're called to enter into people's lives at key moments and make differences for the better. That, for me, sums up the very baseline for the meaning of life. From that, everything else happens. We're called to enter continually into the lives of others to make differences for the better. Doesn't mean we have to pay their mortgage or pay their car, but just little things, and continually. We do it when we can. We don't do it once and stop. So again, she came, she talked to us, she spoke with us, she met Michael, and to this day, he gets birthday and Christmas cards from Sarah. And she sends videos of her kids with Downs and the involvement that she's in. Now, I'm nobody. I'm sure, I would imagine I'm one of 100, if not more than that, people that she engages with. But Michael has a friend over across the pond, and it began with a simple conversation about being called to see things in a different light. He also had issues with the heart, and I had hurdles of the heart also. So in my heart, patience, or the lack of it, was an issue. Self was an issue. Michael had 2 little holes in his heart. Now at that age, the heart is about the size, a little bit smaller than a walnut. So we take him to Children's Mercy, long story short, open heart surgery. It was worse on me, I assure you, than it was on Michael. Michael sedated through the whole thing. I needed sedation. I wanted sedation. So it was tough. He laid there and we fixed his heart, and he'll never have to have another surgery again for that issue. So he'll grow and be fine and healthy. He can do everything that a typical kid will do. So the issues of the heart. And in this particular picture, my dad, you heard about my dad and Elvis and all that, was my hero. And he often would say to me, you know, at night when your boys are asleep, go give them your blessing and pray over them. And so I'm giving Michael my blessing as he came out of surgery. That was the first time we got to see him. And I was praying for him. And I remember in this picture, you know, it's funny how things stick with you. I was praying for patience. Lord, help me have patience. Help me put him first. That was a conscious thought going on right about the time this picture was taken. Now, I don't know if you can see it. Along with prayer, a ton of medicine. This is 2 pillars of IVs and 2 or 3 dozen. I get a little caught up in the medicine and the tubes that were running into his body, and the medicine and just the medicine that was there and all of it. I mean, it was just so much and so overwhelming that all of those chemicals were going into his little body, and it was all necessary. So again, help me, Lord, put him first, help me have patience, let me see my way through this. So I get to hold him for the first time. Doesn't it look like I need sedation? I'm about ready to start, the old Irish in me, I start to cry. I can cry at McDonald's Christmas commercials. I'm certainly about ready to lose it here, but I finally get to hold him. And another thought that was going through at the time this picture was taken, all will be well. I can remember a visible voice. I call it a visible voice. I couldn't see anybody, but I could hear the voice just like it was in the room. All will be well. All will be well. Thank you, Lord. Thank you. Now, this is my dad, my best friend. I call my dad the prophet, right? Because Dad said when he got to hold Michael and meet him, he will be our angel. And never have I heard more true words than that. I tell you, he has been our angel. And I talked with Dad about that. I would get a lot of advice from Dad. How am I a father to a boy I don't know how he's going to turn out? How am I going to be a father who I don't know will be alive in 5 years? You know what else I told my dad? I whispered to my dad one day, you know what, if I'm faced with this, I almost hope Michael dies before I do because I feel too nervous leaving him behind. You know what I mean? And on one level, as a parent, that's what I thought. I really thought that. Doug, my dad said, he's our angel. He's our angel. 2 months after Michael was born, my dad died of a stroke. Gone. 62 years old. Had just retired 6 months prior. He and my mom had great plans of traveling the country in their trailer and going off. Now, when I talked to Dad about death and Michael and so forth, he said, we can't all get there at the same time, Doug. You've got to stay, but you've got to realize that God has a plan and that he's trying to work his way through you and that these things happen. And we have to try to, together, find our way there. And so a couple of days after he passed away, we're cleaning out his desk and looking through his office at home, and I find this note. Now, I don't know if you can read it from the distance, but it was powerful to me. It said, and it's written on a little yellow Post-it note. It says, I'll be waiting for you. We cannot all arrive at the same time. God's plan. Now, I know stories of people who work in the health field industry, and they say sometimes people who are going to die know it, although they might not articulate it as such. But we found this note, and I couldn't help but think about Dad's words, and that how death is just a thin veil, and that there's not a great distance between us and them, that they're just right around the corner. As Dad would say, my dad, the prophet, as I say, right? My best friend. And so, again, another example of how I needed to learn patience and to see things in a different way and to think of myself much less and other things much more. So the questions and so forth that I had. Will Michael come home? Yeah, he does. So we're on the road to typical. He gets to come home. Look at that little baby on that blanket. He's beautiful. He's perfect. Graham gets to hold him. Everything's coming into place. Questions begin to be answered. Will he go to school? Yes. And he's in a typical classroom with the other kids. Now, he goes in for speech therapy. Yeah. But you know what? When I was his age, I never saw anybody with Downs, ever, in my classroom. And he's in typical classrooms. So the questions are getting answered. Now, this is years later, right? Talk about learning patience. Where all these questions that went through my head that night he was born, they start to I start to get answers. Will he have friends? More than I imagined. This is a birthday party, which was a typical one. He's had several, and friends come in droves. They're drawn to him. It's fun to watch. Will he have meaningful relationships? Yes. Every time I visit him in school, words are important. Every time I visit him in school, down the hallway, it's high five. Hey, Michael, high five. Michael, what's up? They dote on him. They protect him. They want to be with him. They're drawn to him. And you know what? Be like thee unto a child, and you will see the kingdom of heaven, right? The little kids recognize it. They recognize something's a little bit different. They don't know what, but they recognize it, and they want to be close to it. And so do we. That's why I've called it the Divine Chromosome. We'll get to it in a minute, but I call that little microscopic addition that he has divine, right? Will he play sports? Yes, all of them, and he will do it well. Hand and eye coordination, spot on. Talented? Yeah. Will he have victories? Yes. He wins the 50-yard dash in the Special Olympics. He got second in the 100-yard dash. So look at the little guy up on the stand, first place. He will have those things. The things that I was worried about when he was born. Will he be typical? Will he have these things? Yes. Doug, in my time, you'll see, that visible voice says. You'll see. Will he go to high school? Now, you can't read that, but that's his grade card. Straight A's for all of his junior high career. I never got straight A's in junior high school. Straight A's, typical classroom work, and he's on the honor roll. Wow. Thank you, Lord. Patience. I can see it. Not so much about me. Typical kid. He makes messes. He opens the lotion and goes, uh-oh, Dad, sorry, yes. But you know what? I wouldn't trade the messes for a world. The toys on the floor, the messes, right? Perspective. It's gift. It's evidence of life. Wouldn't trade it for a minute. First communion right here, Prince of Peace. falls asleep on the couch after a long day, dresses up like Dr. Seuss for Dr. Seuss Day. Typical kid. Typical kid. He loves theater. That's his big brother Grant holding him at the pumpkin patch when they were small. They love each other. He's got a brother that cares for him. He loves his brother. He loves art. He's a heck of an artist. A heck of an artist. He wants to be a chef when he grows up. That's him on the right one Christmas a few years back helping me make some snacks, and that's him this summer helping me make gazpacho, some soup. Now last night, true story, he's spending the night with me. We're getting ready for today. And he goes, Dad, let's go watch TV. I say, sure, I'll make some popcorn. We'll go, what do you want to watch? I'm thinking, Avengers, Batman. Can we watch the cooking channel? I swear, he wants to watch the cooking, okay. So we watched something about barbecue in Texas on the cooking channel last night. Great. He imitates his dad, typical kid, followed me around with his lawnmower, watched me shave. Sometimes he imitates his grandmother, drinks beer. It's okay. Well, we're Irish. It's okay. It was empty. Loves music, just like his dad, Elvis. Remember Elvis, the belt? Yes. Michael, we have a professional karaoke system downstairs, and Michael is famous for watching Elvis and singing along, and wow, wow. A little flat, but wow, right? And then he loves his life. And you can't read the slide, I'm sure, but basically what it says up there is that, what? This little microscopic addition. I'll never fail to love. I won't have venom and prejudice like other people have. I'll default to happiness. I want you to love my life. I'm happy, and I want you to love my life too. That's in essence what Michael is, and what I've learned through patience and putting him above me. Now, trisomy 21 is the official term for Down syndrome. Trisomy, tri-3. We have a string of 26 chromosomes, right, or 22 chromosomes, and they're each paired up. Well, on the 21st chromosome, Michael has 3 chromosomes instead of 2. So I call that little addition, like I said earlier, the Divine Chromosome. That little addition that he has that makes him so, so special and unique. What all of those kids with Downs have. Again, they don't have any of the prejudices, no venom, they don't judge anyone, they're generally always happy, they don't know a stranger. And yet, people are drawn, kids are drawn to them. They want to be around them, and don't we all? We want to be around that. So if each of us had just a little bit of what they have in them, the world would be a better place. All of these answers and questions that I had, the questions that I had are being answered. And it's just amazing to me. And so I learned that it will come. Hindsight is a great gift. And in time, God's time, I can handle this. I can handle it. We're a family. This sums up our personalities perfectly. Michael and I on the microphone, and Grant with his comics and writing his books. And it's all great. So I have patience to endure and to live and to see all his gift, from getting away from what can I get to what can I offer. Right? A final thought. I want to share with you a really frightening statistic. 94% of prenatal diagnoses that show Down syndrome are aborted. 94%, an entire segment of our population wiped out. Yet there's a waiting list 2 years long for people wanting to adopt babies that have Down syndrome. So I say this in every talk I get about this testimony of mine, and please put this in your memories, in your memory banks. If you ever, please, I beg you, if any of you ever hear from a friend, a family member, and a friend of a friend, an acquaintance of an acquaintance of an acquaintance that's diagnosed with a Down syndrome baby, please call me or get a hold of the Kansas City Down Syndrome Guild. They're wonderful lives, and they're wonderful, wonderful human beings. They have every bit of potential as a typical kid. I promise you. So that's how Michael has affected me, has given me patience. God has blessed me with something absolutely surprising, wonderful, And I wouldn't trade it for a minute. If God himself were to appear to us right now in this room and say, Doug, I'd be happy to make Michael a typical, normal kid for you, I would get on my knees in front of the Lord and kindly decline that offer. Perhaps I'm not as selfless as I thought, because that's a selfish denial, because I get so much from Michael, the way that he is. Hey, Michael, can you come here for a minute? I want to introduce you guys to Michael. Come here, buddy. I think you're perfect. Look, can you say hi? This is Michael. And just like all of you, Michael's perfect. Thank you for listening. Okay. Thanks, Michael.